ultimately, that's what we're trying to produce. And then we're going beyond that in the process of producing justice and eliminating racism. We're trying to produce some people called universal man and universal woman.
Yes.
All right? And that is where black people should be aiming. And get out of the ghetto mentality, looking forward to this being a glorified ghetto on the other side of somebody else's enterprise. All right? In this case, the enterprises of the white supremacists. We got to get out of that type of frame of reference altogether. Be able for each individual person, and that's what the book is about, that you become a nation as an individual person. You're a universal person, a universal man, universal woman. As we grow into manhood and the womanhood, we become that by our conduct on a daily basis. And the book is supposed to help us to get there, to get from where we are now to where we should have been in the first place. People of the entire universe, people who are in the most constructive tune with everything in the entire universe, not just a ghettoized people, not just a proud black people on the other side of the white side of town. I mean, that's been our ambition. That's very short-sighted, very short-sighted. You know, another beauty parlor, another barbershop on the other side of town, the other side of the universe, or the other side of what's supposed to be a country, or the other side of the tracks, all right? And, you know, and just dealing with this race thing like forever. No, eliminate racism from the entire universe.
Yes, sir.
And become universal people that can go and function in the most constructive manner anywhere in the universe. That's what the book is supposed to be aimed at ultimately.
Okay.
And it's called a compensatory counter-racist code because you got to get rid of racism in order to do that. You can't have racism in nowhere on this planet or in the universe in order to do that. But in the process, we become universal man and universal woman. Keep that in mind so that the individual person becomes a whole nation within him or herself. Rather than members of a nation, the entire world becomes a member of you in the most constructive manner. All right?
Yes, sir.
Make yourself the center of the universe as a person. There's nothing that gets better than that. All right? You should wish for justice and work toward producing justice without the death part.
Okay.
But you may be killed in the process because you are on a battlefield. The whole world is a battlefield. But you might say, to kind of paraphrase General Patton, he said something like, he is reported to have said something like, no, and I won't use the kind of what you might call vulgar language that he used, but from what I understand, reportedly, he said something to the effect of, you don't die for your country, you make that other person die for his in a war. I mean, but fear that's an emotion. Fear does serve a purpose, but you want to have an intelligent fear, okay, according to the code. There is such a thing as intelligent fear rather than non-intelligent fear. See, non-intelligent fear is when you're just afraid and traumatized to the extent that you don't try to do anything to eliminate what is causing the fear. See, so you use intelligence to conquer fear. Afraid of being a tightrope walker by what?
Yes.
You practice walking a tightrope, all right, at a lower level. But I use the word from in the way that it is used in the dictionary. It's just from. You know, from. You're from, and it's really that remark that I made, you're from everywhere you've ever been and from every place you have never been is to center on a thought about. And you might say, well, what's the practical use of that? That's a legitimate question. That's a logical question of that statement. I wrote it to get black people out of this habit of thinking that we're from Africa. Because everything is supposed to be centered around the individual and counter-racist logic. And if you get to thinking that you are from a certain place, a lot of people, I have noticed, and I myself included, we always thought of a certain place that I had to get back to in order for me to function. That I couldn't, if I go some other place, I can't function. That is anti-universalism. I think that it's logical for non-white people, the people who are victims of white supremacy, to practice being every place is my place. Any place that you happen to see me, I am self-contained and can function in a maximum constructive manner regardless of where I am, all right? That I don't have a place. How much of from are you from when you are from? Okay? You're talking about infinity. Infinity is every place that you have never been. And infinity is also every place that you have ever been. And you can say infinity is right where you are now.
Now, yes.
See what I mean? See, if you start thinking about that, you're thinking on a universal level, not on a level that we have been taught. And the reason for this is, I start thinking in this way. I read something in a novel, in a short story by Richard Wright. And this white person asked this Negro, this colored person, this black person, said, "Hey, boy, what are you doing up here? Why aren't you down there with the rest of the Negroes?" See what I mean? In other words, you have a place. See, all the rest of the Negroes are down there on the levee. And we got a flood here. What are you doing up here alone, wandering around, when all of the rest of your people are down there on the levee, where they belong, where I sent them? That's really what he's saying. See what I mean? So black people got this idea that we have a place. All right? And where is that place? Wherever the white supremacists say our place is. Or even if we get a place of what we call our own. The white supremacists know that we are at that place, and so they will have to approve of that place. So we need to get out of this thing about our place. Our place is wherever we happen to be.
Yes.
Just like those two people who were in Starbucks. They happened to be there. They said they were there to meet somebody for a business deal. And that's what they were waiting on. So, any place that I happen to be, if you're black, I'm in my place. All right? Where's the place for the white supremacists, according to them? Any place that they happen to go in the universe, including all the other planets in the universe. Trillions of them. There are trillions of what they call heavenly bodies. And the white supremacists look at all of them and say, that's where I'm from, and that's where I'm going, if I want to. All right? And that's where I intend to go. And when I get there, that's my place. All right? And when I leave there, that's still my place. Because I'll be in another place, but if anybody else goes there, I'll say that's my place too. And you are on my place. And you'll say, but I'm trillions of miles away from the planet Earth. And they'll say, well, so what? Wherever you go and you happen to land somewhere, you're in my place. Why? Because I said so, that's why.
Wow.
That's how the white supremacists think.